I don't remember the exact date this happened. I've tried to look it up before, but nothing ever came of it. No articles, no police reports I could find, just a vague memory of it happening sometime during my sophomore year of high school. It was late fall, maybe early winter. It was cold enough that everyone was wearing hoodies inside, and teachers were complaining about the heat not working properly yet. What I do remember clearly is that it happened on a normal day. That's what messes with me the most. It wasn't exam week, it wasn't after some big fight or threat. There was nothing in the air that suggested anything was wrong. If you asked me the morning of, I would have told you it's just another school day I was trying to get through. Second period English, that's where I was when it started. Our classroom was on the second floor, near the back of the building. One of those rooms with the row of windows on one side and cinder block walls everywhere else. The desks were arranged in rows, and the teacher was mid-lecture about something none of us were paying attention to. I remember doodling in my notebook, little shapes, no words, I was just killing time. Then the intercom clicked on. At first no one reacted. The intercom went off all the time. Announcement, schedule changes, reminders about sports. There was a pause, then the static sound. Then the principal's voice came through. Attention all students and staff, this is a lockdown. Please secure your classrooms immediately. No explanation, no extra detail, just that. For about 2 seconds, the room was completely silent. Then someone laughed. Not a big laugh, just a short one, kind of nervous. Someone whispered, "Drill?" Another kid said, "Yeah, we had one last month." Our teacher didn't look panicked, but she did move quickly. She closed the classroom door and locked it. She told us to move away from the windows and sit along the back wall. All this felt familiar and rehearsed. We'd done lockdown drills before, everyone has. I remember thinking how annoying it was. We were in the middle of class and now we were going to lose time and probably have homework assigned anyway. We sat down against the wall. Some kids pulled out their phones, others whispered. The teacher told us to be quiet. Then 10 minutes passed and nothing happened. No sounds in the hallway, no shouting, no alarms. That's when the first weird thing happened. Someone knocked on the door. Everyone froze. The teacher didn't move. She raised a finger to her lips, signaling for silence. Another knock came, this time a bit slower. Then we heard this voice. "Miss Carter, it's Mr. Reynolds. Open the door." That was the vice principal. At least it sounded like him. Same voice, same tone. It was calm, slightly annoyed, like he always sounded. A few students looked relieved. One of them whispered, "See, just a drill." Our teacher hesitated. She stepped toward the door, then stopped. She said, "I need to hear it over the intercom." There was a pause outside. Then the voice spoke again. "The intercom's down in this wing. Just open the door." Something about that didn't sit right with her. I could tell by the way she stood there, hand hovering near the lock but not touching it. She said, "I can't. Protocol says I need confirmation." Then there was this pure silence, and then footsteps that moved away from the door. There was no more knocks, no more talking. We sat there in silence for another 15 minutes. That's when phones started buzzing. Text messages, group chats lighting up. People were sharing screenshots, rumors. Someone said there was a guy with a weapon in the science wing. Someone else said it was a fight that got out of hand. Another said it was just a drill and teachers were messing with us. Then someone sent a video. It was shaky, filmed from inside a classroom somewhere else in the school. You could hear screaming in the background. The camera dipped down just long enough to catch a glimpse of someone running through the hallway. Then the video cut off. That's when it stopped feeling like a drill to me. Our teacher took our phones and told us to silence them completely. She stacked them on our desk and told us to stay put. Time started to stretch. My legs started to cramp. My back hurt from leaning against the wall. I could hear my own heartbeat. Every sound felt too loud. Somewhere down the hallway there was a bang. It wasn't a gunshot. At least, I don't think it was. It sounded more like a metal locker slamming, or a door being hit hard. Someone in our room started crying quietly. The teacher moved closer to us, whispering that everything was going to be okay. I don't think she believed it though. Another announcement came over the intercom. This one was shorter. Remain in lockdown. That was it. No reassurance, no updates. Just that. Minutes later, we heard footsteps again. Running this time. They passed our door and kept going. Someone shouted something unintelligible. I couldn't make out the words. Then there was another bang, closer. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I remember thinking about my backpack and about my phone on the teacher's desk, about how stupid it was that those things mattered to me in that moment. Then came a scream. It was brief and sharp. No one in our room moved, no one spoke. We sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only another 20 minutes. Eventually police sirens started to come through the walls, distant at first. The intercom came back on. "This is law enforcement. Teachers, please remain in lockdown until an officer comes to your door." When the knock finally came, it was different. It was loud and firm. A voice called out, "Police, open the door." Our teacher unlocked it. 2 officers stood there, weapons drawn, scanning the room before lowering them. We were escorted out single file, hands visible. The hallway was chaos. Doors open, teachers crying, students hugging each other. Outside, we were herded into the football field. Parents were already there, some screaming names, others crying. I found my mom and class into our arms. Later, we were told what happened. There had been a former student expelled the year before. He'd come back during the day through the side entrance that wasn't properly secured. He didn't bring any weapons, but he did somehow injure 2 students and 1 teacher. It was nothing major, just minor stuff. School was closed for the rest of the week. We went back the following Monday. Everything looked the same. New locks, more security, more drills, but it didn't feel the same. Every announcement made my stomach drop. Every knocking sound made my chest tighten. Even now, years later, when I hear the phrase, "this is a lockdown," my body reacts before my brain does. Because the scariest part wasn't what happened. It was how normal everything felt that day, and how easily it could have gone worse. I'd been a janitor at this school for almost 12 years when this happened. Long enough that I knew the building better than most of the teachers. Long enough that I could tell you which doors stuck in winter, which lights flickered before burning out, and which stairwells echoed louder than they should. I worked the day shift mostly. Came in early, left mid-afternoon. My job was to keep things moving while classes were in session. Spills, bathrooms, broken lockers, that kind of thing. Nothing dramatic. That day started like any other. I remember that because there was nothing special about it. No bad feeling, no weird tension. Just another weekday where I was counting down the hours. It was late morning when it happened, somewhere between 2nd and 3rd period. I was on the 1st floor, mopping near the math classrooms. The floors there were always worse than the rest of the building. Kids tracking in dirt from the outside. Kids eating their lunch there. I had one earbud in, listening to a radio show quietly. Nothing loud enough that I couldn't hear what was going on around me. That's important, because when I heard the intercom clicked on, I heard it clearly. "Attention all students and staff, this is a lockdown." I stopped mopping. At first I didn't react any more than anyone else probably did. We had drills, a lot of them. Too many honestly, half the time no one even took them seriously. But something about the way the announcement was delivered made me uneasy. There was no, "this is a drill," no explanation, just the instruction. I pulled the earbud out and stood there listening. Classroom doors started closing all around me, locks clicking, teachers ushering students inside. The hallway emptied faster than I'd ever seen it. And then there was just me, alone in the hallway. Protocol said custodial staff were supposed to report to the nearest secured room. I knew that, everyone did, but I also knew something else. There were still bathrooms open, there were still storage rooms unlocked, and there were kids who ditched class all the time. If this wasn't a drill and someone was actually moving through the building, there were a lot of places they could hide or get trapped. I made a decision I probably shouldn't have. I pushed my cleaning cart into the supply closet, shut the door quietly, and locked it. Then I started walking. I wasn't running, I was walking. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. The school felt different immediately. No talking, no lockers slamming, no bells. Just the hum of lights and the distant thud of doors closing. I checked the nearest bathroom first. It was empty. Stalls open, no feet visible. I called out quietly, "Anyone in here?" There was no response, so I moved on. As I turned the corner toward the main hallway, I heard something that made me stop cold. It was footsteps. Not the hurried kind teachers made during drills, not the echoey sound of a class being rushed somewhere. These were slow. I flattened myself against a wall, my adrenaline was rushing. I leaned just enough to look around the corner, at first I didn't see anyone. Then a man stepped into view. I didn't recognize him. That was the first thing I noticed. He wasn't wearing a staff badge, no lanyard, no uniform, just jeans, a dark jacket, and a backpack slung over one shoulder. He didn't look panicked, and he didn't look lost. He honestly looked like he knew exactly where he was going. I pulled back out of sight as quietly as I could. My hands were shaking. I knew every staff member in that building, at least by face. This man wasn't one of them. I waited, listening. His footsteps passed by the corner, moving toward the stairwell that led to the second floor. I should have gone the other direction, and I should have hidden, but instead, I followed. I don't know why. Maybe because I felt responsible? Maybe because I didn't fully believe what I was seeing yet? I stayed far back, keeping to the edges, using corners and doorways for cover. The man stopped at a classroom door and tried the handle. It was locked, of course. He moved to the next one, locked. He didn't knock, didn't call out, just tested doors one by one. That's when I knew this wasn't a drill. I ducked into a nearby office and pulled the door shut, leaving it cracked just enough to see. He passed by, close enough that I could hear him breathing. I noticed his hands then. He was holding something, not a gun, a knife. Longer than a pocket knife, something you'd see in a kitchen drawer. The blade caught the light as he moved. My stomach completely dropped. I pulled my phone out and dialed 911 with my fingers shaking, keeping the volume off. I whispered when the dispatcher answered, "There's a man in the school. He's not staff, he has a knife." She told me officers were already on the way, and told me to get somewhere safe. I didn't tell her I was following him. The man reached the stairwell and started up. I waited a full minute before moving again. The second floor was worse. That's where most of the classrooms were. That's where most of the kids were hiding. I stayed low, peeking down hallways before stepping out. Every door was shut. Then I heard shouting. It was muffled and panicked. I broke into a run. The man had forced open a classroom door at the far end of the hall. I saw him inside, arguing with someone I couldn't see. A teacher, maybe? Then I heard a scream. I didn't think. I grabbed the fire extinguisher off the wall and ran. By the time I reached the door, it was already closing. I shoved it open and sprayed the extinguisher blindly into the room. The man turned, startled, swinging the knife wildly. Students were crying, huddled in the corner. The teacher was on the floor, clutching her arm. The man ran. He bolted past me down the hallway, coughing and swearing. I didn't chase him. I slammed the door shut and locked it instead. Police arrived minutes later. The building was cleared room by room, and we were escorted out when it was safe. They caught him in the stairwell, cornered. Thankfully, no one died. They told me they were glad for what I did, but it was also extremely stupid. They weren't wrong. I knew that as I was doing it. I still work in schools, but not that one. Nowadays, when the intercom clicks on unexpectedly, I stop whatever I'm doing and listen, because sometimes you're the only one between normal and something much worse. I never ended up finding out who that guy was, or what he wanted, or what connection he had to that teacher or that class in particular. No one ever told me. Maybe it's just because they viewed me as just a simple custodian. I don't know. Maybe I'd prefer not to know. By October of 2016, the clown thing had been going on long enough that people were starting to get tired of it. At first, it was everywhere. News stories, social media, school emails, parents warning kids not to walk home alone. But after weeks of fake sightings, edgy teenagers trying to scare each other, most people stopped taking it seriously. But to be honest, that's when it got worse. I was a junior in high school at the time. I lived in a quiet neighborhood, not rich, not dangerous, just rows of houses, sidewalks, streetlights that flickered sometimes. The kind of place where nothing really ever happened. The first clown sighting in our town was posted on Facebook. A picture taken at night. It was grainy and dark. It was a clown standing under a streetlight at the edge of a park. People argued about whether it was real. Someone actually claimed it was their cousin, and someone else said it was a Photoshop, but it really didn't look like one. A few days later, another picture surfaced. It was that same clown. This time it was in a different location, closer to the houses this time. Still, nobody really did anything about it. I mean, what could they do? Then, this account appeared. Since it's been so long, I don't remember the username, but I remember it was simple. It was just like one word and a few numbers. It didn't have a profile picture or a bio. The first post was a picture of a wooded area behind our school. The caption read, "Everyone's watching, but I'm close." That post got shared everywhere. The school sent out an email that same night saying there was no credible threat and that students should report suspicious activity. But nothing changed. A few days later, the account posted again. This time it was a picture of a neighborhood street. It was actually my street. I didn't realize that at first. I was scrolling through Instagram in my room when I saw it. Just a random picture of a sidewalk and a mailbox. I actually almost scrolled past it. Then I noticed a familiar crack in the pavement and the tree leaning slightly toward the road. My stomach completely dropped. That was outside my house. The caption read, "It's almost time." That post woke me completely up. I didn't sleep at all that night. I showed my parents the next morning. They told me it was probably a coincidence, that a lot of streets looked the same and people were trying to scare each other. But my mom double checked the logs anyways. The next day at school, attendance was noticeably lower. People were spreading rumors in the halls. Teachers tried to keep the lessons moving, but no one was paying attention really. Roughly around lunchtime, I remember someone screaming in the cafeteria. Not a joke scream, like a genuine, real, terrified scream. Everyone turned towards the windows. Across the football field, near the edge of the property, someone was standing there. It was a clown. This clown wasn't a typical clown either. He wasn't wearing makeup, it was a mask. A white mask with dark eye holes and a really big red smile. He was standing perfectly still. Phones came out instantly. People were crowding the windows. The teachers were yelling at us to sit back down, but she ultimately had to call security just in case. By the time security got outside, the person was gone. That was the moment our school went into lockdown. Police came, searched the grounds. They actually brought dogs out. We stayed locked in classrooms for nearly 2 hours. They didn't find anything. That night, the clown account posted again. It was a video this time. It was shaky, filmed from a moving car. The camera pointed out the passenger window as the car drove slowly down a familiar street. It was my street again. The video ended with the camera stopping across from my house. The caption just said, "Tonight." My parents called the police immediately. 2 officers showed up. They took statements, and they said they'd patrol the area. One of them told us it was probably someone trying to scare people during the panic. I mean, it was a probable thing to say. By the looks of it, it just looks like someone was trying to play a joke on us. That night, my dad stayed awake in the living room. He had the lights on with the TV playing quietly. My mom and I tried to sleep upstairs. I woke up just after midnight to a noise. It was a soft tapping sound. At first, I thought it was a tree branch hitting the house, but it happened again. It was coming from my window. I didn't move or breathe. I stared at the dark shape of my curtains, and I heard another tap. My heart felt like it was going to explode. Then I heard a voice. It was quiet and muffled through the glass. It said, "Come outside." I bolted out of my bed and ran to my dad. My dad was already up, obviously. He grabbed a flashlight and a bat and ran outside before the police could even arrive. The clown was gone, again. But this time he left something behind. It was a muddy footprint smeared across the concrete beneath my window. I don't know how he was even tapping on my window. Maybe he was throwing rocks? Police took pictures, and I remembered neighbors coming out of their house to watch what was happening. The clown account actually posted one last time that night. It was a picture of my window taken from outside. The caption read, "Next time." School was canceled the next day. But that afternoon, they actually caught him. He tried the same thing at another house across town. The homeowner wasn't playing around. He actually fired a warning shot into the air, which made the clown run away. Police found him hiding in a drainage culvert not far away. He wasn't a teenager, he was 26 years old. They found knives in his backpack and duct tape. And the weirdest part of this all, he had screenshots of people's social media profiles, including one of mine. He confessed to stalking multiple students, watching schools, watching houses, and ultimately waiting for someone to open a door. The clown thing wasn't a joke to him, it was an excuse. They don't talk about that part much anymore. When people remember this whole 2016 clown sighting event, they laugh about it, the whole panic around it, the memes, the fake sightings. But in my town, it was way more serious than that, because we know how close it came. Every October when I see someone dressed up as a clown for Halloween, it genuinely sends a chill down my spine.